All right, let's jump right in. We're doing a 24-hour scan of the entire globe, but we're not looking at headlines. Nope. We're looking at the signals, the raw data of what governments and markets are actually doing right this second. Okay, let's get into it. And right off the bat, the first signal is a massive one. Just look at this. In the past day, we've tracked over 2,600 procuring signals. That's governments buying things. Now compare that to 16 signals for layoffs and only 11 for hiring. I mean, it's not even close. This chart tells you a really powerful story. The labor market is just background noise right now. The real action is in what's being bought and built. And that, right there, is the theme for this entire explainer. You can forget the noise of all the public announcements and the press releases. The world is quietly and relentlessly optimizing for something else entirely. And we're going to decode what that is, just by following the data.
So let's pull back the lens and look at the global dashboard. What does the entire signal landscape from the past 24 hours really tell us?
Well, procurement absolutely dominates. It's just off the charts. But look what's right behind it. You have news, which gives us context, and then compliance and regulation. This tells you the story isn't about wild expansion or a jobs boom. Not at all. The big themes are governments buying stuff, regulators making new rules, and companies trying to navigate this really complex new landscape. This sets the stage perfectly for what we're about to see at the country level. So with that global picture in mind, let's zoom in. We're going from that 30,000-foot view right down to the ground to see where these signals are clustering inside the world's biggest economies. We're going to start with this number, 2,466. Now, that's the signal count for just one country in the last 24 hours. That makes it the single biggest outlier on the entire planet right now. And that country is the United Kingdom. And this just brilliantly illustrates why the UK is such an outlier. It is a procurement machine. We're talking about the Home Office testing new migration tech, the NHS buying hyper-specific calibration equipment, the Ministry of Defense upgrading facilities. Heck, even police forces are securing their fuel supplies. So here's the key takeaway. If you're a vendor in cyber or health tech or infrastructure, the UK is probably the most immediately monetizable market on Earth right now. Now let's hop across the Atlantic to the United States. And wow, is it a different story. The big signal here isn't a massive buying spree, it's a huge surge in rulemaking and a deep, deep focus on just keeping things running.
The Federal Register is just humming with activity. You've got the FAA issuing new directives for Boeing jets, the EPA cracking down on air quality, and then regulators are digging deep into market structures and power grid pricing. Now, every single one of these signals creates an immediate demand for things like aviation maintenance, environmental consultants, legal services, and grid operators. It's all about maintenance and compliance.
And this quote just captures it perfectly. The focus, at least from the government side, isn't on groundbreaking new projects. It's on making sure the core infrastructure, from the planes in the sky to the power in our homes, stays stable and secure. They are buying continuity. Okay, shifting over to Asia, China's signals are pointing to one singular, very powerful goal, what's called compute sovereignty. And what that really means is gaining total independence in AI by controlling the hardware and the software that it all runs on. And you can see them executing a really clear two-step plan. First step, fund it. We're seeing IPO plans surface for the AI chip units of giants like Alibaba and Baidu. Now, this isn't just a corporate move. This is about structurally funding their own AI independence. Step 2, control it. Regulators are now looking beyond just market share. They're focusing on the actual algorithms that power these massive platforms. It's a crystal clear signal about who controls the digital economy. Meanwhile, in Europe, the key themes are consolidation and hardening. You have Germany's leadership signaling a much tougher cybersecurity posture. And at the same time, in France and the Netherlands, we're seeing these huge deals that are consolidating the payments market, plus a pretty notable IPO for a defense contractor. The message is pretty clear. The continent is battening down the hatches both digitally and financially. All right, now let's broaden our view again and look at emerging economies. What's fascinating here is that even across completely different regions, from Africa to Latin America, very similar underlying themes are starting to emerge. And the patterns are really striking. In Nigeria, the entire national power grid collapses. In Mexico, antitrust authorities are breaking up a food supply monopoly. In Indonesia, deadly landslides are highlighting just how vulnerable their infrastructure is. The core challenges are universal. You've got energy reliability, regulatory tightening, and building resilience against a changing climate. So we've looked at all these micro signals on the ground. Now it's time to zoom back out. Because when you put all of these individual data points together, they start to reveal four really profound paradigm shifts that are reshaping our world as we speak. The first shift, AI is now infrastructure. China's strategy makes this perfectly clear. High-end computing power isn't just a tech product anymore. It's being treated like a nation's power grid or its highway system, an essential piece of sovereign infrastructure that's critical for economic and national security. Second, our financial rails are converging. I mean, when you see a giant credit card company buying a corporate spend platform or a fintech app trying to become a traditional bank, you know the old categories are breaking down. The lines between banking, payments, and expense management are just blurring into one single system. The third shift is undeniable. Cyber is now a core operational risk. We've seen malware targeting power infrastructure and reports of 149 million credentials exposed in just a short period of time. The crucial point is this. Cybersecurity has moved out of the IT department and is now a fundamental threat to a company's very ability to function, period. And finally, geopolitics is actively repricing risk in real time. When naval ships move in the Middle East, the insurance premiums for oil tankers and cargo ships immediately spike. This isn't some abstract theory, it is a direct, measurable link between military moves and the cost of everything. So, after scanning thousands of signals from all around the globe, what's the bottom line? What should we really be watching for?
It all comes down to this one powerful idea. The signals show us that the world, just beneath the surface, is not optimizing for those growth numbers and cheerful headlines you might see. It is fundamentally optimizing for continuity, for security, for compliance, and for control.
And that leads us to the final and most important question. Remember, these are the early signals, right? They're the tremors before the earthquake makes the 6 o'clock news. They aren't headlines yet. So the question for you is, seeing all this, how will it change the way you allocate your capital, the way you build your business, and the way you prepare for what's coming next?